Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever the case might be for you. And I know that for a few brave souls, it's also a good middle of the night. I'm Alex, and on behalf of the Mind Valley team, I would like to welcome you to your life book online Q&A coaching call number 2. This is about the all too important categories of category number 1, health and fitness, because there is no single aspect of your life book that your physical health does not affect. Like John said in the videos, a win here is a win everywhere because this category is intimately connected with all the others. And the second part of our call is going to be about category number 2, the intellectual life, because thinking is a choice. This also happens to be my personal favorite category from all the 12 of life book. As you can expect, we will have a great session prepared for you today. We'll cover interesting topics, but they are belonging mainly to these 2 categories. That being said, and without further ado, let's welcome directly from the Philippines, this time, our wonderful teachers on this journey, John and Missy Butcher. Hi, guys.
Hello,
Hi, everybody.
So good to be here. Hey, Alex.
Hi, Ezra.
Hi, beautiful people.
Yeah, this is great. I love seeing everybody, at least some.
So we have a lot of material to dive in tonight. Let's start with some pre-submitted questions. And like I said, guys, the first part of the call is going to be about the category of health and fitness, and then we'll move on to the second category. So the first question for tonight comes from Christina. And because it was mentioned in the video, how do we find out our metabolic type? What is the resource or go-to place you recommend to find out our nutritional/metabolic type? Can you also talk about your current eating habits and daily meals with examples, please?
So we started searching for our metabolic type probably 20 years ago. And all you got to do is figure it out once and you're on the road. So we're not sure exactly what the best resources out there are right now, but there's a couple that we know of.
The book that you read long ago.
Right,
Joe McCullough told you that.
Alex, there's a new one. What is the resource that you had recorded for that?
Yeah, so I found an online version of this. It's from on Dr. Oz's website.
Oh, good. Okay, so Dr. Oz has one. Bottom line is this, you guys, you got to just go out there and Google it. You'll be able to find it. There are wellness centers that do it live, like they'll take hair analysis and urine analysis and really go deep. That's what we did 20 years ago to discover ours.
We did it with Joe Mercola, Dr. Joe Mercola.
Right.
But there's a lot, like John said, there's a lot of people that do it. So just find out what your metabolic type is, and it's everywhere now.
And sometimes they call it nutritional type. But here's the thing: you've probably gotten the clue that our approach to the health and fitness category is as simple as possible. There's so much friggin' information out there, and a lot of it is contradictory. And so what we have always tried to do is focus on the highest leverage points, focus on the 80-20 rule, and try to wade through all of the information and ignore most of it and just get to the strategies and the protocols that are really going to move the needle in our lives. We want as few things to think about as possible. So the deal with your metabolic type is all you need to understand is how your body metabolizes food. Are you a fast metabolizer, which means when you eat, your body just burns through that food, you get a big brain energy spike, and then if you don't eat the right kinds of food, you're in danger of crashing. And that's a tough rhythm to go through in your life. Or are you a slow metabolizer, which means your body doesn't eat through food quickly. If you're a slow metabolizer, you have to eat foods that metabolize quickly so that you can get enough energy. If you're a fast metabolizer, you want to eat foods that metabolize slowly so that you have a slow burn over a long time. It's as simple as that. And I hope that didn't sound too complicated, but that's the basic concept with metabolic type. Once you understand whether your body metabolizes food quickly or slowly, you can start to tip in the direction of your right diet. My dad and I were having the same problems, serious anxiety, and it was coming from the same place because we didn't have the proper diet for our metabolic type. But my dad's solution was the opposite of mine because we've got opposite metabolic types. He's a slow metabolizer, so he could never get his brain energy up to the right, unless he ate foods like salads that metabolize very, very quickly. he could never get his brain energy to the point where he felt really, really well and thus experienced a lot of anxiety. I was the opposite. I was a fast metabolizer. I constantly had these ups and downs and spikes and crashes, so I couldn't get my brain energy right. So our problem was exactly the same, but our solution was the opposite, which is he had to eat foods that metabolize fast. I had to eat foods that metabolize slow. For me, that's red meats, it's purine, lots of healthy fats. Yeah. For him, it's the opposite. So once I figured out my metabolic type, I started just generally eating those foods. Miss and I
think for a while you did it really strictly.
Right. For a couple weeks I did it strict. Yeah. But then I think that you'll have gotten the clue about us, and I'm not saying this is the right way for everybody, but this is us. We're relatively relaxed in the health and fitness category. All we want to know are the very best strategies. We want to apply them generally to our lives. We don't want too much to think about.
We just want the basics.
Yeah.
Like the tried and true basics.
Right.
It's
and
like, yeah.
we want to take a reasonable, relatively relaxed approach to this category with both our exercise and our diets. And we don't live like monks. We're not, super disciplined when it comes to our diets and our workouts, but we're pretty consistent. And we've gotten great results that way. I think that a lot of times people get so uptight.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
And so overwhelmed that
they get stressed, and then the stress actually
gets in their way.
It does the opposite to your health and fitness. It can, like, if you're going to have a chocolate cake or a piece of chocolate cake, not a whole cake, maybe a whole cake, but okay, so if you're going to eat some chocolate, if you have stress and guilt around eating that chocolate
that's
cake,
probably worse for you than the cake.
Well, yeah, so it's like, if you're going to do it, be happy about it. If you're not happy about it, then don't do it. It's like that. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but the stress that you put on yourself when it comes to the way you think about the food you're eating, or the way that you feel that you're not exercising correctly, or you're not eating properly, that stress,
it can be as damaging as having a crappy diet.
Exactly. So for John and I would say, well, we can answer the second part of the question. Find your metabolic type. everybody's different. Find out what yours is, and then eat appropriate to your metabolic type. For generally, yeah. So John and I are both kind of the same. I think we're a mix.
Yeah.
And
mixed fast oxidized.
Yeah. So our food, again, super basic. It's like we don't want to get too uptight and complicated about how we're going to eat and what we're going to eat. But it's generally lean meat. You know, not a lot of animal protein, but we do eat animal protein. Mm-hmm. Lots of vegetables.
Green vegetables is our go-to.
All kinds of fruit. Eat local, eat whole, organic, super simple, you know.
And then the bottom line is we eat whatever we want. But if we're going to eat something unhealthy, this is what we've figured out long ago. I eat ramen noodles every morning for breakfast, just about. You know, not the best quality.
No, you can't beat yourself up about it. If you're going to do it, you have to have a good attitude.
But the bottom line is this. We also have that green smoothie.
Right.
That's the best nutritional strategy we've discovered in the last 20 years. And if I pound a green smoothie with breakfast, I can have a small bowl of ramen noodles or a Burger King hamburger or anything else I want, because I've got all my nutrition from that green smoothie. And then we
very rarely
try our best to limit our toxins and try our best to stick to a nice, reasonable meal plan. Yeah. But you guys, you know what it is? Working out. Working out is the fountain of youth. Exercise is the key. Mm-hmm. If you are on a good exercise program, you can just burn through anything that you put in your body that's not optimal. And you just want to make sure that you feed your body with good fuel so that you can do that exercise program right. But I think you're getting the idea that we're relatively relaxed. We learned the basics, and we've just run that program for 25 years, and it's really...
And it really is about moderation. I know that everybody says moderation is key. It really, really, truly is, because that also releases the stress that you have about, you know, if you're going to eat, you know, this kind of food, if you're going to have a bowl of pasta, don't stress about it. You know, have the
enjoy that pasta, baby.
Yeah. So moderation is definitely the thing here.
Okay, that's enough on that, Alex. Yeah. You can find your metabolic type.
Can you each tell us a little bit more about your fitness habits, exercise program, or schedule for when you work out? And of course, can also Missy share about her premise, vision, and purpose, and how she achieves her goal in this category of health and fitness?
My ideal time to work out is in the morning, like right when I wake up. Haven't been doing that very good this year because we've had a lot of else going on, but generally speaking, I have always liked the idea of paying myself first, like getting up, doing meditation, doing my little gratitude ritual, doing yoga or some sort of body movement first thing in the morning. It gets me centered, it gets me clear, it gets me completely ready for the day. So for sure, hands down for me, it's first thing in the morning.
There are also studies on doing exercise in the morning. What it does is it ramps your metabolism up quickly as opposed to slowly over the day. And you basically just burn food better all day long if you do it in the morning. I'm not morning, Missy is, and that is really optimal.
Yeah, for me, for sure. It depends on your own, like, we'll get into this intellectual, but John's morning time is about working. It's about using his mind.
My brain
writing.
is what I have to focus on in the morning.
Yeah, for me, it's not. I need to get into my body and get centered. So for sure, first thing in the morning. And I used to be really hardcore about lifting and running. I was a runner for a long, long, long time. The past few years, I've been going through the change. So my body's changing, everything's changing, and I'm incorporating new exercise regime, which is more yoga, body movement, which is what I like to call it. It's like dance. It's, anytime I'm going anywhere, just being conscious of my body and moving all of the muscles to get me to the next place. That's kind of what I've been doing. It's more like conscious movement. But again, like we were talking about this, I think last week, how this is a cyclical, big time cyclical category. You'll be doing great and you'll be in the best shape ever, and then something will happen and you'll be like, oh man.
Everybody,
goes.
even the world-class athletes we know, everybody goes up and down in this category. And your job, if you really want to take this category seriously, is when you're in those upswings, keep those going as long as you can. And when you're down, try to get out of that as soon as you can. But you've got to accept the fact that it's gonna be like that.
For sure. And I'll just share a little bit about my premise. My premise is generally about the fact that my body is built and made for my life. Like I am going to be naturally physically fit. I was born and made and created to be physically fit, to really truly be here to live the life that I'm supposed to live. And I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, I added a little premise into my in this category, and it was basically, this is my baseline. This is my weight baseline. I've always been kind of the same weight, but after I had my kids, you kind of go up and down, and so I kind of just got this mindset, or this frame of mind that I would stay within this range. So it's like my baseline. It's like between this and this, and there's like 5 or 10 pounds. So there's no stress of like, oh my gosh, I'm 10 pounds overweight, or I'm 5 pounds under. It's kind of like, this is where I am always living. And just having the belief that your body really is meant to be well. That's another belief we both have, that our bodies we were born to be well, and they're naturally self-regulating and self-healing if we just care for them. So those are some of my beliefs.
Yeah, that's great, baby. And mine's simple. I've just always focused on 2 things when it comes to workouts: resistance training for strength, and cardio for speed and endurance. And it's been cyclical. The 2 biggest strategies, which I shared in the health and fitness video that we found in the last 10 years, are interval training for cardio. It just cuts your workouts down so short, and it's so intense and it's so effective. And super slow for resistance, same thing. So those have been big breakthroughs. And like last year, you guys, we had so much. We moved across the world. We had to get all of our companies ready to do. I mean, we had a time of tremendous change last year. And during times like that, your health and fitness category can take a little hit. And that's what happened to us. We always try to maintain, and this is one of the great things about the Lifebook process. If you have a life book, you never get too far behind. You're conscious.
Because you know that you've got 12 categories, even though you can't always focus on them all the time at all the same time at once. But if you're not working on your health and fitness, it's over here, and you're like, I gotta look at that soon.
I'm gonna have a look at that soon. But they never get left out.
Right.
They never get left behind. They never get left to chance. And so we made it through some pretty challenging big projects, very exciting, but a lot of volume, man, last year. And it was one of those sort of down cycles in our health and fitness. We try to maintain as much as we can. Now, just right after the first of the year, we've got a lot of that behind us. We're in our new state. We haven't built our home yet. We got a lot of work to do in front of us. But this year, it's time to focus on our health and fitness again. And we're so excited about that because Missy and I love exercising. We love feeling our bodies. We love taking care of ourselves. We also like partying and having a good time and all of that. But we're so excited to get back into it this year and see how far we can go. This is going to be a big upcycle for us.
I was just scrolling through the chat. You have a comment there, John, that says you're not going to live to be 100 if you eat ramen noodles every day.
All right, that's a challenge.
Come on, it's a mindset.
Challenge.
Great. Okay. I see a common question here with the resources. What are or were your top go-to resources, books, programs, ideas, etc., in the area of health and fitness? And what are the things that helped you the most to get clarity around this area?
Great question. You know, we have not done a tremendous amount of study. I read a book by Dorian Yates in the 90s to learn how to do weightlifting. So I learned weightlifting from a book, and didn't take long. It was only a few weeks, and then practice. Mrs. Dunn.
I would say that the book that changed the way that I look at health and fitness is Ultra Prevention by Dr. Mark Hyman. It talks about how food is medicine and how it's about preventing sickness as opposed to not caring for it teaches you how to care for yourself as you go, as you grow, as you age, and as you're just living, as opposed to, you don't really pay much attention to what you eat or what you're doing, and then you're sick and you have to heal yourself later. It's like food as your medicine and how to just grow and live in a healthy way, like all the time.
So that's Ultra Prevention.
Great book.
And Dr. Hyman's going through Lifebook next month, so he's going to join the Lifebook community. It's going to be great to have him in the Lifebook.
He's
community.
amazing.
Yeah, he really is an awesome guy. What else have we read that has been profound for us? You know, where we get most of our information and most of our strategies is from the Lifebook community. You guys, we've got world-class health and wellness experts. Ben Greenfield, Joe Mercola, Dr. Patrick Gentempo. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We've gotten so many great recommendations and tips from the people in this community. So hook up with each other, because the thing that we've noticed about Lifebook when it comes to the community, we've all got strengths and weaknesses. We're all better at some categories than other categories. We're all better at some aspects of certain categories than we are at aspects of other categories. But for every weakness you have, it's a strength for somebody else out there in the community, and vice versa. There are weaknesses out there that you've got strengths, and if we just share with each other, we can fill in all those holes. That's the vision. And what we need to do over time is get our platforms right so that people can easily share with each other and we can exchange all this knowledge. Because the bottom line is, when it comes to a few categories, financial is one, health and fitness is one, I'm sure there are others, career. We've gotten the best information we've ever received has come from this community, from the badasses in this community.
Yeah, speaking of that, I in the past, like one of my girlfriends, Meredith Baselli, if you're watching, I love you, Meredith. She's a nutritionist, and when it was maybe 5 or 7 years ago, I was starting to go through the change, and my body was changing, and it was crazy. It was like I didn't know myself anymore. So she and I worked together. She really helped me get a grip on just basic nutrition, which I thought I had a pretty good grip, but everything, as you guys know, it's always changing. It's always growing. We're always learning in that realm is nutrition, because it's a new open world for us. And that was very, very helpful if you really need a little bit of help with nutrition, I would recommend hiring someone that you trust, that you know, unless you just want to read a book about it, you can do that too. But it was helpful to me to have someone be accountable with me. And for I think it was a few weeks where I would take a picture of every single meal I ate, and I would send it to Meredith, and she would give me grades on it and say, this is what you can do, add more green onions, do this, do that. And that was amazing for me.
And I'll tell you another thing that was related to that we did years and years ago that was the best thing we ever did for our nutrition is Lifebook members Jason and Nandi Moore. Jason and Nandi Moore, they've got a company called, I'm not sure what their company's called anyway. They came to our house and they gave us a consultation, and they're the ones that turned us onto the concept of green smoothies. Here's what they did, you guys. They came to our house, they took a look at all the food in our cupboards, they threw out 80% of it. They said, read this label and don't ever bring this back into your house ever again. And then they took us shopping for a couple hours and took us through the aisles.
And then cooked for us.
And then they came back and cooked for us with all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And by the time they left our house, we were set up with a whole new protocol, and they taught us how to do those green smoothies. And that was probably 10 or 12 years ago. And that was the biggest game changer ever. And Miss shared her green smoothie recipe with you guys, and you can do variations of it. But, you know, again, it comes back to the members of this community. We've got the answers for each other. We just need to share those answers.
Nice.
I am curious about your thoughts on alcohol, coffee, other types of intoxicants, and things like guilty pleasure, things we know are not good for us, but still crave.
We love guilty pleasures.
Yes.
Okay, so alcohol and coffee, two totally different animals there. Alcohol, well, you know, we're going to release a movie toward the end of this month that's sort of our story of addiction in our family. So we've got the addiction gene because we're a bunch of artists, and artists are more prone to addiction than most people, although addiction runs pretty much in every family, right? Alcohol is, in our opinion, it's a relatively low quality drug. It has good social aspects to it. And scientific studies have pretty much unanimously proved that in moderation, it can actually be healthy for you. But you got to be careful with it because it can kill you. That's one of the things that can kill you. And you know, I've had two younger brothers die of drugs and alcohol, and Missy's had a younger brother too. And so, I mean, we're careful with alcohol. We love to drink and party, but we have got to watch that. Coffee. You guys, we know coffee well. We have a coffee company. And the reason we have a coffee company is because we found out from a Lifebook member about 3.5 years ago. I started this company with him. His name is Andrew Salisbury. Most people don't know this. Coffee is in a class by itself when it comes to health and wellness properties. It's a natural superfood that has a positive effect on basically a wider range of human experience than any other natural compound, with the possible exception of marijuana, from the standpoint of a wide range of things that it treats. There have been more scientific studies conducted on coffee than any other food, 19,000 scientific studies, and they show as a whole overwhelmingly that coffee is in the superfood in a class by itself. It has a profound effect on decreasing your chances of getting at least 7 types of deadly cancers. It's an incredible performance enhancer. Yeah, drink it up, kids. Drink it up. It's got incredible performance enhancing compounds in it. It increases your longevity by at least 15%. So our company is called Purity Coffee. You can look it up online, puritycoffee.com. And our mission 3.5 years ago was to create the healthiest coffee in the world. We wanted to learn everything there was about production practices from cherry on the tree all the way to your cup, and pull them all together into one process that created the healthiest coffee in the world. And we achieved that last year. Independent labs from 3 countries analyzed 85% of the coffee market, and Purity Coffee is the healthiest coffee relative to, we have the most of the good stuff, the healthy compounds, and the least of the bad stuff, the toxins in coffee. So coffee is something that the vast majority of us should be drinking 3 to 5 cups a day of.
You need to find out your
tolerance level.
Yeah, for caffeine. It's almost like finding out your metabolic typing for caffeine specifically, or you can just gauge it yourself.
Well, that's how you should do it. There's no way to find it out. You know what your tolerance level is. I mean, we all know if I drink 3, I'm okay. If I drink 5, I'm gonna have all the jitters. And
I will say this: if you just drink regular coffee that's not like really high end, pure, no mold, no low on the toxins, you will get the jitters, and you'll get other stuff that's maybe not even affecting you, the caffeine. It's more of the toxins. So the cleaner, the more organic your coffee is, the better. I would also suggest picking up a book by Dr. Sanjeev Chopra. It's called The Big Five, and it talks about the big five things to eat for longevity.
The five highest leverage, easiest moves to
Yeah.
increase your health, wellness, and longevity.
There you go.
Coffee's number one. Sanjeev is Deepak's brother. They're both writing a book together on the health benefits of coffee right now. Sanjeev is the head of our advisory board at Purity Coffee.
But he's been studying coffee for 30 plus
He's
years.
been talking about coffee and health
Yeah.
longer than anyone else. You guys, no one knows this. And the reason they don't is because in the 50s, there were a bunch of studies done that tied coffee to about 100 different disorders and diseases. All those studies have been debunked. That what they failed to do in the 50s is differentiate coffee consumption from heavy alcohol consumption and cigarette smoking, which you guys know in the 50s, that was the deal. 3 margarita or lunches, and everyone smoked 2 packs a day. When they went back and looked at that data and corrected it for those mistakes, the findings on coffee and health literally reversed.
Just do some research. Really, do some research on the health benefits of coffee. You guys will be amazed.
Yeah, it's one of the highest leverage moves you can
Yeah.
make to increase your health and wellness and longevity.
100%.
And check out our website. We have a lot of great educational information there. puritycoffee.com. So alcohol, not so much.
Although we do enjoy
We
it
do love it,
in moderation.
but we got to be careful with it.
Yeah.
Coffee, absolutely all the way. We're not too uptight about toxins. It's just that we try to limit them. And again, you guys, if you exercise, especially if you sweat, sweating is
And water in and water out.
magic,
Yeah.
because your skin is your biggest organ in your body, and sweating just purifies you. And if you don't like getting on the treadmill for an hour and sweating that way, jump in the sauna. It's not quite as effective from a cardio standpoint,
But it is. It gets
but
you
it's
going.
effective as far as your sweating goes. So we're not too uptight with our toxins is the bottom line, but we do try to moderate. And you guys will see when we release this movie later this month, it really goes into the concept of addiction and the struggles that we've had, that our families have had. We have to especially monitor ourselves because we've got the gene, and I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to that.
I see something popping up in the chat here. It's about how do we identify our beliefs, and especially how do we tell them apart from our vision and purpose? Can you please provide more clarity on diving deeper with strategies around this idea of beliefs, and especially about limiting beliefs?
It's a process, you guys. I mean, with Lifebook, what we do is we present our beliefs just to get you sort of kick-started on being able to look at yours. And it's peeling away the layers, and nobody can do it but you. You're the one that has to just take a deep breath and ask yourself, what are my deep-seated beliefs that may have been installed in me in childhood that have been controlling my behavior in this category of my life? It's taking personal responsibility to muster the courage required to go deep into yourself and find some answers. It's a personal quest, and each and every one of us has to do it. And then once you do pull up a negative belief, geez, all my life I've believed that since everybody in my family is overweight, I'm destined to be overweight. I put that on myself. I condemned myself to that when I'm realizing that's a bad belief. I've got to get rid of it. Then there's a few really good techniques to get rid of that bad belief. And Alex, we talk about this on every call. This question comes up every call. How do I eliminate a bad belief?
It depends on who you are, because sometimes, and it depends on
How deep the belief is. A lot of
sometimes you can
factors.
just say, that's not something I'm going to believe anymore.
Yeah.
Once you just shine the light of consciousness on it, you can change it. I mean, like John said, it depends on how long it's been there, how deep rooted it is. And your mind is so powerful. I mean, Marissa Peer talks about this. Once you just identify something and say, no, that doesn't make sense anymore, that doesn't compute anymore, your mind
can get rid of it
for you.
Like, for instance, everybody in my family is overweight. Everybody. I'm the only one in shape in my family. So, and I'm the oldest of 7, and my mom died young, and so when you look at my situation, and I could have easily said, well, those are just my genetics. Well, that's bullshit. Those aren't my genetics. My genetics are awesome. Everybody in my family has awesome genetics. They just don't have healthy lifestyles. We don't even know what our potential is because we're doing all the wrong things. So early on, I just made a decision that I was going to be a strong muscular athlete for the rest of my life. And I had a feeling in the back of my mind that I might run into issues because everybody else in my family is unhealthy, but I never did. I never did. And so that leads me to believe that if my brothers and sisters and other family members, you know, would have had a different lifestyle, that they could have gone down that same road. So, but if you do, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, this is good. But I want to also get back to the first part of that question, which was, and this is a common question, how do you keep, what's the difference between your beliefs, your vision, and your purpose, right?
Right.
So I think that, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's just, don't get too uptight about it. Is this a vision or is it a purpose? There's a lot of crossover, you guys. This is art. What we're doing is art. It's an intellectual process.
But you're creating.
But you're creating. It's poetry. All you want to do is get to the right result. And the right result is that you've brought consciousness to this category of your life. You've literally sat down and you've thought about it. You know how few people do that? Take the time to just think about where they are and what they want and what they believe and why they want what they want and what they need to do to get it. That's an extraordinary thing that we have the ability to do that very, very few people do. So don't get caught up in the technicalities. Is this a vision or is this a purpose? Well, what does it feel like to you? Put it in there and stop worrying about it. You know, don't mix up the roadmap with the terrain. Don't mix up all the terminology with what you're really doing here, which is bringing consciousness to your life so that you can start to move it in the right direction.
Beautifully said. I actually shared the same story. There is a lot of obesity in my family, in my immediate family, in my extended family. And apparently I don't have any of those things. One of the things is exactly this particular thing of consciousness. I looked at my family and I was like, okay, this is something I don't want to have. I want to have their brains. I want to have their work ethic. That's good things to have. Eating habits, not so much. I don't like those. So I changed them in time in the last 5 to 6 years. It's definitely a process. It cannot, most of the time, it doesn't just happen overnight. Just realizing a limiting belief does not eliminate it all of a sudden. In some cases it might, but it's definitely a process. But I think it all starts with the consciousness that you bring to it. The moment you are conscious about something that it's a belief, and then you put effort, constant, consistent effort into it, it does change over time.
Let me add something, Alex. Right now, where you guys are, just starting the Lifebook process, over the next 5 weeks, you're going to go through the rest of the categories. Don't put too much pressure on yourself right now. You know what would be amazing as you're in this process? If you could just make 1 or 2 small distinctions that will start to move you in the right direction, as opposed to trying to pile a bunch of strategies on yourself right now. You're getting ready to go through 12 categories. If you could just make 1 little change in each of them as you go, you're in the thinking process right now. The next course, if you guys decide to go with us into the next course, is the doing process. You're thinking down your life, you're thinking down your life vision right now. You're going to end this course with a crystal clear vision of the person you want to become and the life you want to live. Lifebook Mastery, the next course, is about taking the life vision is where that course starts. Now we're going to get that done. Now we're going to execute that. So this process is a thinking process. And what would be great as you go through this process is just take 1 or 2 little strategies, nothing that's going to be overwhelming or too much for you, and just start to get a little momentum, get a beachhead in each of these areas. By the time you're done with this first level course, you're going to have you're going to have momentum across all 12 categories. And then when we go into the doing piece of Lifebook, you're going to really be positioned to make some serious change.
And I also think, and probably some of you I've seen it on the Facebook page, some of you have already been seeing changes, even without specifically making a change.
Just because of the consciousness.
Just because you're bringing consciousness to your life and you're seeing the stuff, sometimes for the very first time, and you're discovering and you're uncovering and you're finding, where you are and who you are. Just in doing that, like we were talking about, the power of the mind is amazing. Once you put consciousness on it, things will change already, just because you know now that you're conscious of it.
That's a nice segue to intellectual, Alex.
Yeah, very true. And like we'll probably continue to mention this just to alleviate anxiety. Don't put that much stress on yourself. Just work on the piece in front of you. I'm still seeing a lot of questions here, which of course are natural. Like how I'm going to integrate all of this into my life, how I'm going to see all of this unfolding. It looks overwhelming or stuff. Why we preach this idea of just working on the piece in front of you is that you will also see other things. It's the idea of category interconnectivity, right? If you just work on the piece in front of you, somewhere down the line in category 5 or 6, you also get ideas about the first categories and so on and so forth. And just by working on the piece in front of you, it will actually help you complete the entire book, the entire life book. But if you just are stressed about not filling in the first category on time or something like this, you might also feel also overwhelmed and also demotivated. But let me assure you that's not going to happen. If you just work on piece in front of you to the best of your extent, also taking resources from the Facebook group, from these calls, somewhere down the line in these 6 weeks, you have the complete clarity.
Because that's such an important point. I just want to, I want to give you an example of the power of that. It's called category interconnectivity. And basically what it means is the breakthrough you need in one category will probably be totally discovered in another category. So we've discovered over the last 25 years of doing this work that in the health and fitness category, it comes down to your purpose. That's the key to this category. It's not how to get in shape. Everybody knows how to get in shape. Really, everybody does. Eat less, eat healthier, move around more, get better sleep. I mean, we all know how to do it. It's why you want it, that's going to determine whether or not you get it, period. So your job in the health and fitness category, and I'm not saying that you need to do this going through this program, because I think that you should be letting the program wash over you right now. You don't want to get stuck anywhere. You just want to have this nice flow all the way to the end of the program. But to really optimize your health and fitness category, you're going to need to find that leverage, that purpose, that reason that you won't let anything stop you. You will climb any mountain. You will cover any distance to make this happen. Your purpose needs to be so strong that it annihilates all those daily temptations that will inevitably come up to knock you off course, right? Well, you don't know what that purpose is. You don't know what it is. You're going through the Life Book program, and all of a sudden you get to the love category, and you say, this is it. This is my purpose. I want to be in the best shape of my life for my lover. I want to have an amazing sex life. I want to be turned on by my mate and have her turned on by me. I want to be able to climb Machu Picchu with her. I want to have amazing adventures. This is an example. You might find it in your parenting category, and it might hit you like a ton of bricks. Oh my God, this is my purpose for health and fitness. I want to set the best example possible that I can for my kids. I want to be around for as long as I possibly can. I want to have the best, I want to be able to wrestle my 18-year-old and kick his ass until he's 24. You might find your purpose there. You might find it in the career category when you realize that higher levels of health and fitness are going to allow you to think more clearly, to have more energy to bring to your work. This is what happens with Lifebook. The breakthroughs can come from anywhere, and they can affect any category.
And yes, very well said. I want to just bring it all back down, just because here's the thing, you guys, it is overwhelming to think about your whole life. Your life is big and massive, and there's 12 categories and all that stuff, right? But what we're doing is what Alex said earlier. We're bite by bite, step by step, we're going to help you think it all down. That's what this process does. It literally helps you get a complete grip on your whole big ass life. And you can't, and even talking about thinking about all of it at once, you can't do that. You really need to do this process step by step, because we're talking about 12 different categories. That it's a big life. It's a lot. It really is. And you can't, that's why you can't really do this without doing it step by step. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time.
But then at the end of the process, you will not believe what you have created. You will not believe this book, this 120-page book, vividly illustrated, that you wrote about the person that you're going to become and the life you're going to live. And in the very last category, which is life vision, We pull all this thinking you did into one clear, compelling vision of the life that you're going to live, and then it starts to get simple.
Right.
It's called simplicity on the far side of complexity. And it's a major aspect, it's a major foundational philosophy of the Lifebook program. You have to work through the complexity, but then once you get to the end of it, it becomes simple and it becomes your roadmap, and you can really, really do something with it at that point. So just trust the process, work through these categories. The breakthroughs are going to come from all over. It's going to feel complicated and sometimes overwhelming during the process, but when you get to the end of it, you'll see the power of it.
Because it really is just one thing, you guys. It's 12 different aspects of one thing, which is your life.
That's right.
And it all fits together. It all does fit together. But right now, we're digging through everything.
We're at the very beginning.
We're digging through, and we're making sure all your beliefs are in order. You're thinking through everything so that you can get aligned inside, so that you can have this coherent life vision.
Wonderful. Okay, let's go to intellectual life. We have here, you talked about meditation. Meditation is also one of my top strategies to sharpen the mind, says Reem, one of our Lifebook students. To some who is struggling to figure out how to build a meditation practice, what are some of the best steps you advise to build a practice for a beginner? And of course, what is your favorite type of meditation?
Okay, we can answer this quickly and stay focused. We had trouble, right, baby?
Yeah, I didn't think meditation was for me.
Yeah,
which is crazy
we
to say
tried
right
it,
now.
We tried it for 12 years,
Yeah.
and we just couldn't get a rhythm. We couldn't make it a permanent part of our lives. We tried a lot of different things. Was it Joe Polish who hooked us up?
About 5 years ago.
So Joe, our dear friend Joe, hooked us up with.
He just said you guys have to do this.
Yeah, TM.
Yeah.
Transcendental meditation, and it's a lesson. You pay them like $9.95, and it's $1,000, and they come to your house. Or you can go there, and it's less expensive. There's a couple centers all over the United States, and they teach you how to meditate for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon. It's a mantra-based meditation, and it was the first time that Missy and I could be consistent with that technique. And we consistently meditated for a couple of years.
For me, it was like, I get it now. I had someone explain it to me, how I could understand what it was. It's not, I was always trying so hard to meditate, you know what I mean? And when I realized, oh my gosh, really, for me, the way I think about meditation is it's listening.
Yeah.
It's being quiet and listening.
It should be easy. It should not be forced.
Yeah.
So they taught us how to do it, and I think they've got actually online videos now, you guys. David Lynch, the director, has a facility in Iowa that's sort of spreading transcendental meditation throughout the United States and throughout the world. So hop online. I think they have educational videos now. So we learned transcendental meditation, and finally
that broke us through.
So we did that for a few years, and then we discovered Dr. Joe Dispenza's guided visual meditation.
Yeah.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, different level.
Yeah.
Different level. So now we do a lot of his guided meditations, and we've also recently, and this is kind of advanced stuff because we've been doing it for a long time. We've also been doing a lot of energy work on each other. It's sort of a combination between sensual massage and Reiki. At night, we light the candles, we light the incense, we put on the beautiful music, we put our hands on each other, and we just go off into the cosmos together. And so those are the three things that we kind of go back and forth. We still do a little bit of TM. We do a lot of Joe Dispenza's guided meditations. And then we have our own little ritual that we do that really brings us into that blissful, empty, incredibly valuable space. Because when you come out of that, you're empty, ready to be filled up. You've released all the artifact, all the bad stuff that needs to go, and you're ready to fill it back up with the good stuff.
That's great. There's also a thing that I've been doing recently, maybe the past couple of years, with my evening bath, is I will listen to I think it's called Tao music. It's meditation music. It's on YouTube. The videos are beautiful. It's just simple, basic music, but it goes through the chakras, and I put that on. I sit in the bathtub and just go through that 20 minutes, it's unbelievable. Highly recommend that.
You know, in this day and age, when we live in the crazy world we live in, when we're inundated with, you know, all the world's content coming at us from every direction, I don't think that meditation and techniques like quieting your mind and just being in nature, relaxing, just listen, I don't think it's ever been more important than it is today, because it's a break. It's an oasis from this crazy,
Cleansing.
manic, consumer-oriented, nutso world we live in. And we need it.
And what we're trying to do is trying to quiet everything so we can hear what we want. So that's why we're doing this process, right? The Life Book process is all about listening to ourselves, each one of us, to hear what our truths are, what our intuition is telling us. It's so hard when you have all these things just bombarding you. I think that's why a lot of people just don't know what they want, what they believe, what they think.
They don't have time to connect with it.
We're smashed with all this stuff. So meditation is, I think it's a key to the Life Book process, because it helps you get in touch with what you want, who you really are, and your intuition, which is your guide.
Yeah.
Wonderful. 2 more examples from me. My wife, for example, likes Vipassana type of meditation. Because I cannot sit in one spot, it took me a long time to figure out a particular type of meditation that I enjoy and brings benefit to me. For me, it's a walking meditation.
Time in nature is so important.
One of my favorite colors is green, as also you can see tonight. So I also like to spend a lot of time in nature, and that's how I clear my thoughts. Moving on, next on the list, from Robin. In the intellectual lesson, John talks about the laws of logic and the importance of learning them and teaching them to our children. Is it possible to explain these laws more in detail, or at least give 1 or 2 examples? And where can we find the explanations of these laws? What is the best way to not only learn these laws, but also apply them in everyday life? And how can we teach our kids to think for themselves? It's a very loaded question.
That's a big one. So the answer to where can I find anything is the same. It's Google, Wikipedia, and online. I mean, that's just the answer to everything. But you guys, the laws of logic give us a decision-making framework to differentiate between good ideas and bad ideas. And they're not only not taught to our children anymore, they are under attack in our universities. I'll go through the first 2 laws of logic very, very quickly, because they're the basis of the whole thing. The first law of logic is the law of identity, which says a thing is itself. A thing is itself. A computer is a computer, a tree is a tree, a lamp is a lamp. If you don't believe that a thing is itself, then you live in an unknowable universe that you can't make heads or tails of. If you believe that a mailbox could turn into an ice cream cone at the drop of a hat at any point, you're not going to be able to make it through life very well. You don't have a good solid foundation. A thing is itself. Now, why I say that these laws are being attacked on the university level is because, like, for instance, words are weapons. Words are not weapons. Words are words. Weapons are weapons. Words can be used like weapons, but there's a big distinction there. Words are words. Weapons are weapons. If you give up the concept that a thing is itself, you're lost in space. And so it's worth jumping on Wikipedia and just reading that first law of logic. A equals A. A thing is itself. If we don't believe that, we have no foundation of figuring out anything in this world.
In this material world.
This material world.
Exactly.
And by the way, the laws of logic apply to the material world. There are different layers of existence, but on this physical plane, the laws of logic govern. 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't equal 17. We can demonstrate that. And I feel like these basic ideas are under attack. And if they take this tool away from our children will not be able to navigate through life. The second law of logic is called the law of non-contradiction, which says that a thing cannot be itself and not itself at the same time in the same respect. And what that means is that there are no contradictions in the physical world. Everything's in its place. You can look at it from different angles. There are different viewpoints, but there can be no pure contradictions, because a thing cannot be itself and not itself at the same time in the same respect. I didn't put this in the Lifebook program because you can see it just doesn't belong. It's a little too heady. It's a little too philosophical. It's a little too academic. But I did mention it because it's worth taking a look. These are old principles that got us to where we are as a species, and they're under attack right now. Look, we have all the world's knowledge in our pockets at the speed of light. What's it going to take to navigate through all that stuff and get to a good place? You're going to have a decision-making framework that allows you to differentiate between good ideas and bad ideas. Missy and I have been doing a lot of thinking about what do we need to teach our kids in the 21st century? Because the old game is off. Knowledge is what you used to go to school for. But the whole sum of human knowledge is in here now. We've outsourced it to a hard drive. We don't need it to put in our brains anymore. So what do we need? What do we need to teach our kids? We need to teach them wisdom. We need to teach them character values. We need to teach them self-esteem. We need to teach them things that will allow them to navigate that knowledge to get to a good place in their life. Now, Miss and I don't have the answers. This is all new to all of us. We're all thinking through this right now. But we're deeply thinking through it. We're basically dropping out of our current culture. We're dropping out of everything. We've dropped out of school. We're doing everything completely different. Call us in 20 years and we'll let you know how it all worked out, because there's no guarantees on anything. But we're raising our kids right now in a very, very different way. And we're super excited to share some of those strategies with you in the parenting category. So anyway, those.
But back to logic. No, you were talking about.
So
the laws of
go
logic.
online. You can learn the laws of logic. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to teach your kids.
Yeah, and here's, I would just, in general, teaching your kids about logic is using logic in your everyday life and talking about like cause and effect, and just having conversations with your kids. That's how you teach them anything. Yes, you lead by example, but you also have those awesome conversations. So.
Yeah, I think that the laws of logic can sort of spill over in your parenting, in that, well, one of the things about our family is our rules are clear, and if our kids break the rules, they know they got to do the consequences. They do not get upset with us when we punish them for doing something that they knew was wrong. They made a judgment decision. I can remember my daughter Jess, when she was 16, wanted to have a bottle of wine with her boyfriend, and he was staying over late, and we were gone. Yeah. And she's not supposed to get into the wine. She's 16 years old, not supposed to drink that. She left us a note in the morning and said, "Mom and Dad, I got into the wine. I'm sorry, but I really wanted to have this romantic night, and I accept the consequences of my actions. And by the way, it was worth it." and so,
yeah, that's awesome.
That's the way we raise our kids. They understand the rules. We want them to exercise their own judgment, to think for themselves. And in that case, she made a value decision that the punishment was going to be worth the value that she got for that. And we were proud of her. She got grounded for it, but we were proud of her for being that self-responsible.
Totally.
That's one of the ways that, a logical household can that's a manifestation in the parenting category of the laws of logic.
I would also just add,
or cause and effect, more specifically.
That the laws of logic, cause and effect, just the basic human, like physical plane. We're humans. We're in human bodies. We live in this physical environment. That's why we need the laws of logic. Yes, we may be spiritual creatures embodying these bodies, but this is the playing field. And the playing field that we're in right now, this physical playing field, is about A equals A. Things are what they are. And there's a lot that we don't see and that we don't know, but right here, right now, let's deal with what we've got. And I think that when you don't teach kids or don't raise kids in an environment of cause and effect and logic, it's emotionally violent to them, because they don't have a basic feeling of security and safety and
I want to expand on that, because that's the world that I grew up in. I grew up in a very strong fundamentalist Christian. All the religions are personal. You act them out according to how you need to act them out. In our house, it wasn't necessarily healthy. I grew up in an unknowable world where there were no bets on anything. And it was, you know, it was horrifying. It was scary. It was scary to think that there were no laws. I couldn't figure out how to navigate it. So I spent my late teenage and my early 20s, my late teenage years and my early 20s, digging in and really studying as much as I could. And what I discovered through Carl Sagan, through Ayn Rand, through some of the people that I studied is, no, the universe is a knowable place. It operates under certain laws that we can understand and we can apply and we can count on. This is what gets us to the moon. This is what builds skyscrapers over 100, you know, stories. This is what allows us to ride on airplanes. This is what creates the medicine that keeps us alive. This is what alleviates human suffering all over. You guys heard my riff in the intellectual category. Most of you have. I love this category. Our minds are our basic tools of survival. Our minds are why we're here. And so I had to go through that whole process of extracting myself from that demon-haunted, unknowable, irrational, chaotic world and getting to a place where I had a solid foothold. And I understood that the universe operates under laws that we can understand and apply and therefore make a better life for ourselves and make a better world. That's why I love this category.
Mm-hmm.
I like also the reference to the demon haunted world by Carl Sagan. You just inserted it there. I saw what you did. Okay. So talking about these examples, right? What are your go-to resources or books, experts, programs, platforms, ideas that helped you the most in the area of intellectual life?
Well, definitely what John said, Carl Sagan. We early on, John and I both separately studied science, philosophy, and psychology. And John had a real deep affinity toward history, which has brought so much to our life. It wasn't really a thing that I was into, but he brought that to us. And history, you guys, it's a miracle. To know history,
it's unbelievable,
is to know our future. It's like to know where you come from. You can learn so much about where we're going. And I think that is the number one thing that we're missing in today's culture. It's why people aren't grateful. It's why people are entitled. It's why people are complaining about everything. It's because they don't know our history. It has been a hard road to get here to where we are now. People didn't make it out. I mean, just even still, there's still remnants of bad shit going on in the world. It used to be the whole world was like that.
I mean, you can't imagine. If you study the history of the human race, first of all, we're lucky to be here. We almost didn't make it a few times. And then even all the way through the 20th century was one of the worst, bloodiest centuries we've ever had. We've solved our existential threats. Most people are not down with this idea. Pestilence, famine, and war have been the big killers in human history. And we have eradicated all three of those as history used to know them. There's still wars in little pockets of the world, but it used to be nonstop everywhere on the globe. Nonstop. You never knew from night to night whether your village or your home was going to be eradicated and everyone you know is going to be killed or pulled into slavery. The modern mind cannot fathom what it used to be like to be a human being on this planet. And because
we're talking 100 years ago.
Because we've solved our existential threats, we have to come up with all kinds of new ways to complain and hate each other, which we've done a pretty good job of doing that. Anyway, what was the question?
The question was, how have we learned about intellectual? What are our favorite things? It's definitely science.
Well, let's
philosophy.
just go to the authors.
Okay.
Nathaniel Branden was our mentor.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Branden was widely regarded as the pioneer in the subject of self-esteem. He wrote 20 books. The highest recommendations are The Art of Living Consciously, Taking Responsibility, The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. Brilliant work, you guys.
I say Honoring the Self.
That
book changed my life when I was 19 years old. Honoring the Self.
Okay, and then these are in no particular order. Ayn Rand, who wrote The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, we had a tremendous effect on our lives. When I mention Ayn Rand's work, I do throw in a caveat. there are some problems with her work, especially how she handled emotion.
Or didn't.
Or the lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
But the contribution she made to the intellectual philosophy of objectivism,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically
Humanism, really.
how we mastered living on this earth in these 12 categories,
Mm-hmm.
is incalculable. She was a genius beyond genius, and she wrote fiction books. Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead are fiction
Mm-hmm.
books that had characters in them that illustrated her values. You could see the values in action.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in a wild ride that'll blow your mind up, Atlas Shrugged or The Fountainhead are very interesting. And then Carl Sagan, what Carl Sagan did is he popularized science.
Mm-hmm.
When I read Cosmos for the first time when I was 19, that's the switch got flipped. That's what showed me that we're living in a knowable universe that we can understand, and we can apply these laws to make our lives better and to make the world better. And totally changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
Set us on the course.
And history. Tell them what you listen to, Dan Carlin now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If you're interested in history, the best resource out there, in my opinion, is Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. It's a podcast, and he is so amazing. And you guys, I mean, I can't stress how valuable knowing history is to our family. I know it's not for everybody. Not everybody's interested in it, but my God, it's made us so much smarter. And the fact that we travel as much as we do, it's wonderful to go to other countries and to be there, to be immersed, to walk through the library of Ephesus or the ruins of, the Forum, to actually be there in real time in 3D. It sets it, right? It sets it into your intellectual body. So those are some of our best resources.
Travel's a big one for us too, to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
We have one more question, big question here that came up several times from Jennifer. Can you expand on the balance of intellectual input and output? I'm an absolute champion at input. I love podcasts, YouTube videos. I'm into audio. I'm an audiobook junkie, etc. Can you please talk further about strategies or your strategies for output? How do you guys go about output, the output part of consuming information?
Wonderful, wonderful question. Super valuable to know the difference between these things. So input just means what you're putting into your mind. It's all the stuff you're studying. It's the podcast you're listening to. It's the videos you're watching. You're educating yourself from sources from the outside are going into your head. That's input, and we need it. We all need it. Output is when you are taking your experience, your concepts, your intellect, your emotion, and pushing it out there. That would be writing. That would be journaling. That would be making videos.
It could be anything. It could be dancing. It's art. It's great. Right. It's expressing yourself. And it's based on the things that you take in, because you're the filter, right? So you input, but then once you're ready to express yourself, all those things are in there, but it comes through your filter, and you're unique. Each one of us is unique. And I think now more than ever, it is the time for each one of us to express ourselves, to express the beauty that's inside of us out. And that's what we're really focusing on with our kids right now, is teaching them how to ask the right questions and how to express what is inside of them out, because that's where the answers are going to come from.
So a perfect example of input versus output is the Lifebook program. You watch the videos, that's input. You do your writing and your thinking, that's output. And very few programs integrate both sides. When I'm doing a writing project or a big project that's requiring a lot of output, I cut off all my input. I go on a low information diet. I don't care how great the strategies are out there, or I don't want any more information coming into my brain. I want to be pure, so it's time for me to express now. Yeah. I'm flipping, I'm going to express. But I love the input. I love putting on my headphones and working out every day and listening to some amazing.
They're both super important. Yeah. They're important to each other.
Right. But the Lifebook process includes both. So you're in a process right now where you're going back and forth between the two. So you got it covered for the next 6 weeks.
Right on.
I think that's about all we have time for this session. We went a little bit over, but I think you guys got a lot of great insights from this. We also went very deep.
That's awesome.
That's all the time we had for today, guys. Thank you, John and Missy, for all of your valuable lessons and great insights. And I'm looking forward to seeing what our next call together will bring on the next two categories of our life book.
Well, let me talk about that just one second here, Alex. The next two categories are awesome. They are emotional, which, my God, talk about a difference between intellectual and emotional. You're in for a treat there. That category is deep, intense, and incredibly powerful. And then character, you know.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, we've had this debate for years. What's the most important category? If you had to say the most important category, what is it? And we've never been able to answer it.
It's each one of them.
We've never been able to answer it because every time you say, well, it's health and fitness, well, what controls your health and fitness? You know what I mean? So it always goes that way. But when we do ask that question, character is always one of the top two.
Mm-hmm.
Your character basically controls everything. Your character controls your health and fitness, controls your love relationship. It's an awesome category.
Mm-hmm.
So these next two categories, I hope you really enjoy them.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, keep at it. I think you already have access to the other two categories, so go for it. Do your best there, share in the tribe, continue to communicate with us. We're so grateful to have you as part of our Mind Valley community, and we're looking forward to helping you and helping each other build your ideal life vision. So stay committed, guys. Thank you for your questions, for your comments, for your engagement, for your participation, for showing up, and for playing full out. And until next time, be extraordinary, my friends. Take care. Bye-bye.